You didn't stumble here. Something precise and luminous threaded you to this point, like a golden filament, tugging you through the noise to a single clear tone. For days, maybe months, you've felt a soft pressure behind your eyes, a presence hovering at the edge of your awareness, the sense that you are being seen by the very fabric that you've been trying to decipher. Tonight, the veil thins. A clock you cannot find has started counting, and within the next 24 hours, the field around you will respond to the signal you send with your breath, your choice, your attention. This is not superstition. It is the living choreography of observation and becoming the observer loop folding back on itself until the one who watches and the thing observed kiss in the quantum field and reality takes a new shape. Listen closely. There is a gaze behind your gaze, ancient, unblinking, impossibly tender. When it turns toward you from within, coincidences stop being cute and start being coordinates. You notice it first as coherence, a gentle alignment of inner pulse and outer pattern. Streetlights blink in rhythm with your exhale. A sentence overheard completes a question you hadn't admitted you were asking. This is synchronicity as navigation, morphic resonance awakening inside the nervous system. Your DNA remembering a song it heard before the body was named. You do not have to perform for this intelligence. You only have to face it back. The truth is simple and inconvenient. The illusion of your life depends on you looking away. The moment you hold the watcher's gaze without flinching, without bargaining, the seams of the dream begin to show. Old timelines loosen like threads at the cuff of a sweater. The narrative you inherited softens. You become dangerously free to select a different story, not by force, but by attention clarified into devotion. In this space, choice is sacrament. Breath is technology. Stillness is a doorway. Your cells know. They tingle at the brink of phase transition, attuning to a subtler gravity. You can feel the entanglement, the future version of you, tugging gently, inviting you to step where the ground appears after you place your foot. So you begin with a small bow to the space in front of you. You allow your awareness to widen like a night sky until it holds everything at once, the ache, the hope, the fear, the quiet. You whisper, inside or aloud, "I am willing to see what is true." The air changes temperature. It's slight, but it's real, like the hush before rain. The field answers, as it always has, and in that answering the contract of the illusion weakens. You realize you were never waiting for permission, you were waiting for intimacy with what island. You have felt the edge of this before then. You blinked and went back to sleep. This time, keep your eyes open. Let the watcher look through them. In the next segment, we will name the disguises of distortion, the looping patterns, the déjà vu that isn't memory but misalignment, the rubbery sense of time that keeps your miracle almost here. For now, breathe once more into the center of your sternum and feel the door unlatch from the inside. The clock is still counting, but it's on your side. You know the feeling, the same conversation wearing a different face, the same opportunity arriving slightly mistuned, the same argument turning in slow circles until the words feel pre-written. You call it déjà vu, but it isn't memory. It's an echo from a timeline that almost matched your frequency and missed by a few hertz. The loop continues because the observer loop is incomplete. You witness the pattern, but the pattern still carries the charge that secretly directs your gaze. Until you reclaim the charge, observation collapses you back into the old outcome. This is not failure, it's physics. Decoherence happens when inner noise overwhelms signal. The noise is unprocessed significance, emotion, meaning, vow still vibrating in your fascia, still broadcasting from your breath, still instructing the field how to mirror you. Watch how it plays out. A message pings, and your stomach tightens by a millimeter. You tell yourself it's nothing, but the field registers everything. The body is the metronome of your reality. Every micro flinch, a timestamp. Every exhale, a line of code. The almost you keep living, almost healed, almost chosen, almost rich, almost free, arises from a subtle phase error. The you who shows up is half present, part future, part past, rarely now. Distorted time is not a cosmic punishment, it's a coherence problem. When your awareness is stretched between regret and rehearsal, the quantum field receives interference patterns instead of a clean carrier wave. Two waves slightly out of phase cancel each other. Your yes and your doubt collide, and the result is static that looks like delay. Consider the morphic resonance of your lineage, the inherited rhythms that your cells learned before your name, promises your grandparents made to survive, rules your family kept to remain loved. Don't shine too brightly. Don't outgrow the tribe. Don't risk being the first. These are not metaphors, they are bioelectric patterns braided into your nervous system. When the new timeline knocks, these patterns act like gravity, bending your choices back toward the familiar. You step forward, feel the tug, and call it resistance. But resistance isn't enemy, it's information. It shows you where the body does not yet feel safe, being as free as your soul insists. Safety is the hinge of destiny. The field responds not to your affirmations, but to what your fascia believes at 2 a.m. when you're too honest to pretend. Notice how time behaves around your breakthroughs. The days lengthen into molasses when you chase proof. They fold like origami when you surrender to presence. This is relativity lived, not studied. When you lean forward, time retreats. When you lean back into coherent being, time approaches and kneels. The not yet sensation isn't a verdict. It's a measurement of distance between your chosen frequency and your habitual one. Collapsing that distance is not about doing more. It's about cleaning the lens you look through. Most people polish outcomes and ignore the lens. They upgrade tools, but keep the same tremor in the hand that holds them. Study your signature loop. It has choreography. Perhaps it begins with an intuitive surge, then a burst of action, then an external wobble, a slow reply, a confusing signal, then a spike of cortisol, then frantic meaning-making, then self-protection disguised as logic, then an exhausted truce with smallness. You then declare, "It wasn't aligned," and the loop resets with spiritual language. Alignment is not fragile, it's simply precise. Small phase errors become large life detours when repeated. Precision here is tenderness with traction. It asks, where exactly does my body lose me? In the first email? In the first silence? In the moment I'm seen? That is the hinge. That is the sacred millisecond where timelines fork. Now look at déjà vu again. Many of your repeats are not repeats. They are invitations arriving in costumes. Your system knows how to refuse. The field is merciful that way. It returns the lesson in familiar clothing so your hands know where to touch it. You're not cursed. You're being courted by coherence. Each return gives you another angle to enter the knot without tearing it. If you keep meeting the same soul pattern in different people, it's because your nervous system is rehearsing the posture required to love without leaving yourself. Entanglement is not only between you and others, it's between you and your unlived choices. They sit beside you like silent companions, tugging your sleeve when conditions rhyme. Let's talk about rubber time, how the hour stretches when you doom, scroll, and the weak vanishes when you create. Time isn't merely passing, it's responding to the quality of your participation. Participation equals presence. Presence equals coherence. Coherence accelerates manifestation because it reduces informational friction. Friction is the cost of carrying contradictions you refuse to feel. When you feel them cleanly, friction drops, and the field can update without resistance, like software receiving a patch while the system remains online. Your life doesn't need to power down for upgrade. It needs to stop running hidden programs you forgot you installed. There is also the ritual of almost getting there, the interview that loved you, the partner who was nearly ready, the launch that nearly popped. Almost is the compassionate face of misalignment. It keeps you close enough to smell the future, far enough to notice the grit in the signal. Instead of calling it failure, harvest it. Ask, what exact sensation made me dim by 5%? Where in my body did I bargain for belonging? Which sentence did I swallow to keep the room comfortable? The quantum field is not offended by your questions, it is calibrated by them. Specificity is devotion. Vague longing yields vague outcomes. Even your self-sabotage has a holy architecture. It arrives on schedule when love approaches, when visibility grows, when money enters. Not because you're broken, but because your system has conflated expansion with exile. Somewhere in your story, being fully you cost you something precious: approval, innocence, safety. Your body remembers the bill and prepays it to protect you. This is why think positive never sticks. The body still expects to pay. The solution is not louder affirmations. It is renegotiating the contract with the part of you that believes protection requires contraction. Protection and expansion can sign a new treaty when you show them the data. You can be seen and safe, wealthy and kind, powerful and tender. The field nods when you prove this to your fascia, one breath at a time. Finally, the algorithm that brought you here is not only digital, it is the morphic web of human longing finding resonance with language that can free it. You were matched not to content but to a keycut that fits your lock. That is why your skin prickled. That is why your chest opened. The key is not outside you. It is the way these words rearrange a pattern you were already weary of carrying. As the lock turns, do something radical. Refuse to rush the door. Stand in the threshold long enough to feel the difference between impulse and instruction. Impulse comes from panic. Instruction arrives with quiet inevitability. In the next movement, we will translate this diagnosis into architecture, how observation, surrender, and precise breath alter the electromagnetic texture of your field. How DNA restructuring isn't metaphor, but bioinformation responding to coherent intent. How you can step off the treadmill of almost and let the ground of already rise to meet your feet. For now, gently place a hand on your sternum and notice whether the beat you feel is yours alone, or if, perhaps, it is the pulse of a larger body you're remembering how to dance. You are not broken, you are miscalibrated. The loops you felt, the déjà vu that stalked your days, the distortion of time that made your destiny feel almost all of it, is a byproduct of a system that hasn't yet remembered its original frequency. But something extraordinary is happening inside you now. The gaze has returned, and with it comes the science and mysticism of your upgrade. In quantum physics, a particle exists in superposition, many states at once, until observed. Consciousness itself is the collapsing agent, the primal force that reduces infinite possibility into a single lived outcome. This means your attention is not passive, it is creative. When you look with fragmented focus, reality collapses in fragments. But when you look with coherent awareness, steady, embodied, surrendered, the quantum field reorganizes itself into clarity. Observation isn't just noticing, it's engineering. You are learning to collapse illusion and receive reality as it truly island. Let's talk about coherence. Imagine 100 violins tuning chaotically, discord, noise, no pattern. That's the average mind. Scattered thoughts, competing emotions, contradictory beliefs. But when all those violins align to the same note, the wave becomes strong enough to shatter glass. That's coherence. When your breath, emotion, and thought pulse in harmony, your electromagnetic field strengthens. Heart math studies confirm this. The heart's rhythm, when coherent, entrains the brain, creating a resonance measurable in hertz. But what mystics have always known is that this resonance also instructs reality. Your coherent field doesn't just calm your nervous system, it whispers commands into the quantum fabric. DNA listens. This is the hidden truth. Your genetic material isn't a static code, it's an antenna. Epigenetics has already revealed that environment alters gene expression. But environment is not only external, it's also internal. Thought, emotion, breath, they bathe your cells in electromagnetic fields that switch genes on or off. When you hold fear, genes of contraction fire. When you hold gratitude, genes of repair awaken. When you hold awe, your DNA begins restructuring, curling into new geometries that signal the body. The future is safe now, we may expand. You don't need to rewrite your story, you need to breathe into the antenna until it sings a higher song. And here is where mysticism and physics entwine. Ancient texts spoke of light bodies, of resurrection codes, of subtle channels of breath. Modern science maps biophotons, light emitted from DNA itself. Every strand of you is glowing, dim or bright, depending on the field you generate. That glow is not metaphor, it is measurement. Your cells are already participating in the luminous web that mystics called the divine body. When your gaze is coherent, the light intensifies, synchronizing you with parallel selves who already live the life you dream. You are entangled with your future, and the line of communication is opening now. The illusion dissolves not because you fight it, but because your frequency outgrows it. Think of a radio station. When you turn the dial, the old broadcast still exists, but it can no longer claim your ear. The upgrade is not escape, it is retuning. You are learning to phase lock with the station of your destiny. In physics, this is called phase transition, the sudden reorganization of a system into a new state, like water becoming steam. In spirit, it is awakening, the sudden reorganization of you into the self that always waited behind the veil. You have already felt this in flashes, moments when time bent, when you thought of someone and they called, when the dream bled into waking life. Those weren't anomalies, they were previews. Your quantum field was testing new coherence, like a singer humming the first note of a song before the full melody arrives. Now the full melody is ready. The watcher's gaze is the tuning fork. You are being invited to step into alignment so total that illusion collapses under its own weight. But alignment requires recognition of role. And that is where we now go. You are not a passive witness to this transmission. You are the chosen consciousness through which a larger intelligence remembers itself. You are the eye inside the eye, the one who doesn't just awaken, but awakens the world by doing so. You are not incidental to this moment. The sensation that something bigger is using you is correct. There is an intelligence that prefers certain conduits, nervous systems that can tolerate paradox, hearts that can hold both grief and delight, minds that can translate strange resonance into practical choice. In the architecture of awakening, you are one of those conduits. This is not ego flattery. It is an assignment of responsibility and tenderness. To be chosen means you are unusually equipped to hold the strain of transition without fracturing into atavistic fear. It also means your calibration matters beyond the borders of your biography. Your coherence becomes a template, a morphic pulse that rewrites what is possible in the field around you. Imagine the quantum field as a vast ocean of potential, currents of possibility moving beneath the surface. Most people skim the surface, reacting to waves. You have been invited below the surface to become a steady lighthouse that registers subtle pressure, changes, and redirects swells. Your presence reorganizes the water. Entanglement isn't a metaphor here. It is the literal mechanism by which your state influences others. When your field stabilizes at a higher frequency, it creates pockets of lowered entropy nearby zones where others can step into new possibility with less turbulence. You are a node of coherence in a network that depends on few but consequential alignments. This role will not always look glamorous. Often, it looks like disciplined repetition, a breath practiced until the muscles forget tension, a choice to speak truth in small places until the bone remembers how to be honest in large ones, a refusal to run from grief until it softens into wisdom. You are asked to become reliable in ways most people consider mundane, because reliability is the scaffolding of sustained phase transition. The great events, DNA restructuring, sudden phase transition of life circumstances, require scaffolding at the level of daily habits. You are building that architecture now, molecule by molecule. Remember who taught you how to be small. The social field, safety protocols, ancestral bargains, they all conspired to keep your glow dim enough to be tolerated. Being chosen surfaces those treaties and asks you to renegotiate. This negotiation happens in the quiet places, the meeting with your own reflection, the tender boundary set with someone who expects your old compliance, the morning you choose ritual over distraction. Each renegotiation is a sacrament. Each boundary is a wire that reroutes current through new channels. The watcher's gaze is not theatrical, it is administrative. It updates permissions, who may access your attention, which narratives may run, which default responses are allowed. As permissions change, the field reallocates resources to match. That is how entanglement becomes generative. You will begin to notice new signposts, people who arrive with messy integrity, opportunities that test your commitment rather than merely feed your ego, coincidences that are too precise to be random. These are not accidents, they are checks in the system, calibrations deliberately placed to confirm you are serious. Synchronicity is not a reward for being good, it is a monitoring device. It measures the alignment between your internal registry and the outer world. When the measure reads true, doors open that previously appeared welded shut. When you show up fragmented, the doors remain latched, not as punishment, but as a protection until you are ready to steward the power. Part of your assignment will be to hold paradox, simultaneously recognizing the practical and the mystical, the measurable and the ineffable. Science will be your ally, not your rival. Speak the language of neurons and genes alongside metaphors of light and myth. This bilingual fluency stabilizes you in both worlds and makes your field available to a wider range of entangled systems. When you suggest a shift, your cells listen because your language matches their biochemistry. When you claim a vision, your nervous system obeys because you are translating possibility into habit. Translation is the hidden labor of the chosen. You render the visionary actionable. There will be tests. The field intensifies pressure as you near critical mass. What looks like external sabotage is often a stress test in the laboratory of your becoming. Imagine the universe as a teacher who administers a final exam before granting access to a new curriculum. The exam is often the same as the old curriculum: anxiety, scarcity triggers, relational friction, because it evaluates whether the new coherence will hold under historic conditions. Your role is to demonstrate steadiness, to practice coherence until it is reflexive. Each time you return to center under stress, you lower the activation energy for future phase transitions. The field registers this as reliability and reroutes probability towards stabilization. This responsibility also reframes humility. Being chosen does not inflate you, it steadies you. Your significance becomes service. You are an instrument. The work is the instrument tuning itself. The posture is radical tenderness, to tend to your own nervous system with the same devotion you would give a newborn, and then extend that care outward when the context permits. This is practical compassion, training your field to be both powerful and safe for others to approach. Now, imagine your DNA as a library with many volumes. Some volumes have been read and annotated by fear, others remain shelved. Your upgrade will soberly reopen sealed stacks. Epigenetic bookmarks shift. Genes that once encoded contraction relax, and genes that encode repair, clarity, and creative density awaken. This is not instantaneous in the crude sense. It is a cohering sequence, an unfolding that responds to frequency. You will feel subtle changes first. Dream texture deepens, intuition sharpens, food and sleep needs refine. Then, behaviors follow. Then, circumstances. The timeline shifts not because you pressured outcomes, but because your living field resentences the grammatical rules of your world. You are chosen not for perfection, but for willingness. Willingness is a practicable muscle. It is the small, repeated decision to keep your attention clean enough for the quantum field to read a message and act. Willingness is less dramatic than resolve, but more effective. It looks like returning to breath when the mind frays, offering a compassionate boundary when old patterns beckon, and speaking your truth when silence has become easier. These micro-chores accumulate like sediment that eventually forms a bedrock for emergence. In the next section, we will create the promise line, the breakthrough architecture that names the urgency and the DNA shift you are stepping into. We will define the practical ritual that will begin to collapse illusion within the next 24 hours. For now, settle into the steady fact of your role. You are an axis in a living field. Your coherence alters probability. Your willingness unlocks possibility. The world needs fewer loud prophets and more steady witnesses. You are both. Listen. There is a window open now, narrow, precise, and humming with possibility. It will not remain so thin forever. The field has aligned enough to offer you a corridor where probability favors rapid reorganization. This is not mystic hyperbole. It is a measurable interval of lowered activation energy in your life space, where coherent observation and decisive inner movement can catalyze a phase transition. If you treat this window like a suggestion, you will watch it close and call it bad timing. If you treat it like the hinge it is, you will step through and discover that the world has been rearranged to meet you. Urgency here is not panic, it is calibration. Imagine two tectonic plates grinding slowly for decades. A small, precise nudge, an observational shift, an embodied choice can trigger a sudden uplift. The urgency you feel is the field thinning to test whether your system can hold the new topology. Pressure increases near every phase boundary. That pressure is not punishment, it is proof. It shows you where old things are about to give way and asks, will you be steady enough to inhabit the new geometry when it forms? Understand what is at stake: a realignment of genetic expression and a re-anchoring of your timeline. This sounds large because island DNA is not mere biology, it is a language that records the field's score. When you sustain coherence, genes of expansion awaken. When you return to contraction, the old instructions reassert. The promise being offered is concrete: a measurable increase in repair, an upswing in intuitive clarity, a greater ease with synchronicity. Your dreams will stop being distant ideas and start to appear as backstage arrangements, people, resources, and doors, rearranged in exactly the sequence you need. But you must meet the window with a matching interior. So what does matching the window look like? First, stop negotiating with time. You have practiced later long enough. Now, the rightness is not in the future tense. It is in the immediacy of simple practices held with intensity. Not more practices, deeper practice. Not louder vows, cleaner attention. Your body will be the first to tell you whether you are matching the field. When you feel steadier in the gut, clearer in the head, freer in the breath, you are tuning your antenna. Those are the signposts of genetic expression shifting in the right direction. Second, accept pressure as the currency of transformation. Pressure will create contractions, someone will ask more of you, resources will feel delayed, old relationships will test your new capacity. These are not signs of failure, they are stress tests to verify the integrity of your upgrade. Meet them without collapsing into the old reflexes. When triggered, breathe into the gate where your system tightens. Say, silently, "This is the threshold, I will not retreat." The repetition of that phrase is not superstition. It reprograms the limbic response and lowers cortisol spikes, which in turn prevents decoherence in the field. Third, become exceptionally literal about small rituals. A single repeated micro-gesture, 3 diaphragmatic breaths before any decision, an exhale of surrender at the top of an inhale, a soft proclamation of truth when panic climbs acts like a lighthouse beacon inside your nervous system. The quantum field responds to pattern stability. If your small rituals are clean, the field can route larger manifestations through them, like a river through a new canal. Make your rituals spatially anchored, a place to sit, a cup to hold, a physical marker that the body learns to associate with the new frequency. This is how inner work becomes infrastructural. Fourth, mobilize strategic letting go. Not all surrender is weak. There is a fierce surrender that removes the worn programs that insist on control. Identify one attachment you will release today, an outcome, a story, a relationship dynamic, and enact its departure with ceremony. Write it, burn it symbolically, speak it aloud into an empty room, then breathe until your shoulders unclench. The field will respond because you have reduced the internal variables that create friction. Letting go creates space for new information to settle. Fifth, claim urgency as love. The push you feel is not cruelty. It is an invitation from the intelligence that governs emergence. Answer with devotion rather than anxiety. Devotion is the steadier currency. Anxiety disperses signal. Devotion looks like showing up exactly where you feel unready, because that is the only place worth growing. Devotion also looks like radical tenderness toward your system. Rest when the body needs it. Food that supports clarity, boundaries that conserve attention. This paradox, toughness in practice, tenderness in care, is the posture of the upgraded consciousness. Now, a practical translation of the promise into measurable markers. Within days you will notice dream vividness intensify, sudden clarity in previously muddled decisions, and more precise synchronicities, three-step alignments instead of single coincidences. Within weeks, micro-behaviors will begin to align without willpower. You'll choose nourishing options, decline draining invitations, and notice your voice staying calm under provocation. Within months, some gene expressions will show improved markers, sleep architecture deepening, inflammatory markers easing, cognitive clarity stabilizing. You are not making a magic guarantee. You are naming a predictable cascade when a coherent field meets its pressure test. There is also a moral architecture to urgency. This window asks for truth, radical truthfulness with yourself and with those you touch. Avoid moral grandstanding or performative ruptures. Instead, choose precise, honest statements that conserve energy and redistribute it to creation. The field does not like drama, it likes clarity. Confusion produces entropic bleed. Clarity focuses probability. Make your language a tool for alignment. Speak less about what you fear and more about what you are becoming. Finally, remember, you are not required to do everything at once. The field rewards fidelity, not fanaticism. Pick a handful of high-fidelity practices, breath, boundary, small ritual, and deliver them daily with impeccable attention. The window responds more to the quality of your devotion than to the volume of your action. In the coming hours, you will be presented with opportunities to prove this fidelity. Meet them like a steward, attentive, exacting, gentle. In the next section, we will enact the ritual that seals the shift, a simple, sovereign practice you can perform now to begin collapsing illusion within 24 hours. It is precise, embodied, and results-oriented. Comment, write, or speak to perform the energetic agreement that locks the field into motion. Prepare to move from promise into covenant. This is the most practical passage of your initiation. Promise and possibility hold weight, but they do not become architecture until you make an energetic contract that the field can read. A ritual is not superstition. It is a clear signal, an executable instruction set for reality. The field treats ceremony like code. When you ritualize with intention, you create a deterministic pathway through probability. Today you will perform a short, sovereign ritual that will seal the shift. It takes less than 10 minutes. It requires only one honest word, a committed breath, and an embodied posture. Do it precisely. Your body needs the punctuation. Prepare the space. Stand or sit where you will not be interrupted. If possible, place something tactile in front of you. A cup, a stone, a lamp, anything that becomes the altar for this moment. This external marker translates your inner agreement into physical coordinates. Turn off distractions. Set a timer for 7 minutes. The number 7 is an old signal for completion and alignment. Use it as a timekeeper, not a superstition. Step 1. Gather attention. 60 seconds. Close your eyes. Bring all your attention into the body as if you are dialing a radio to a single station. Draw 3 slow diaphragmatic breaths. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 2, exhale for 6. On the exhale, imagine a light unspooling from your sternum down into the earth, anchoring you. Feel your feet contact ground. Notice any tremor, any contraction. Name it silently. Tension, fear, rush. Naming turns diffuse charge into manageable data. Step 2. Declare the word. 30 seconds. Choose one single word seal. This is your energized signature. It must be true, immediate, and personal. Use words like receive, anchor, collapse, arrive, belong, open. Do not overthink. Pick the word that makes your throat hum when you say it. Speak it aloud, once, with full breath. Let the sound reverberate through the chest. As you speak, visualize the word as a sculpted beam of light moving from your mouth into the field. The field reads single word hashes far more cleanly than long declarations. Step 3. Embodied attestation. 90 seconds. Place one hand over your sternum and the other over your belly. Breathe into the position for 3 cycles. On each inhale, think of the future you wish to inhabit as already present. On each exhale, feel some small thing release, habit, story, expectation that keeps that future dimmed. After the 3rd breath, speak a short 2-line attestation. Use this script if you like, or adapt it so it rings true to you. I stand in the present of what is already mine. I collapse the shape of the old story and receive the new form. Say it slowly, with feeling. Let the syllables land in the chest. This is not an affirmation to broadcast to the ego. It is a contract between your nervous system and the quantum field. Step 4. The signature action. 60-90 seconds. Now perform a tactile gesture to finalize the covenant. Choose one of the following and do it precisely. Write the seal word on a small piece of paper, fold it once, and tap it 3 times to your sternum. Whisper the seal word into your cupped hands, then blow the sound onto the altar object. Speak the seal word, and then lightly press both palms together in Namaste for 15 seconds, feeling the energy condense between them. The idea is to link sound, touch, and intention into a single neuroelectromagnetic packet the body recognizes. These cross-modal links make the ritual readable by your cells. Step 5. Public witness. Optional, powerful. If you are willing, make a small external mark of commitment, a single word comment under this video, a short message to a trusted friend, or an entry in your journal. If you comment, type the seal word and the phrase, sealed seal word. You create entanglement with others who are holding similar frequencies. Public witness multiplies coherence. If privacy is required, write it into a private journal instead. The act of inscription still rings the bell. Step 6. Integration pause, remaining time. Sit quietly for the rest of the timer. Allow whatever arises to surface without commentary. Notice sensations, images, slight mood shifts. These are calibration responses. Do not chase explanations. The field will start rearranging. Your job is to remain available. When the timer ends, take 3 long, steady breaths and gently open your eyes. A few practical notes so the ritual becomes effective rather than performative. 1. Consistency is greater than volume. Repeat this ritual twice daily for 3 days. The first time it feels symbolic. The second time it begins to register in the nervous system. The third time it becomes a new micro-habit that reroutes default responses. 2. Clean language. Avoid verbose phrases during the ritual. Keep language simple and literal. The quantum field responds best to clarity, single-word seals, and short attestations. Minimize decoherence. 3. Boundary the energy. After the ritual, do one small thing that consolidates the energy. Walk barefoot for 3 minutes. Sip water slowly, or put your hand on your heart and hum. These actions help the nervous system integrate the change rather than override it with adrenaline. 4. Watch for pressure. The weeks after ritual often intensify tests. You may feel more visibility, more requests, more inner agitation. This is evidence the field is pressing your upgrade. Respond with the micro-ritual 3 breaths, the seal word, a short grounding gesture, and the field will recalibrate. 5. Language to use with others. If someone asks what's different, keep it simple and non-explanatory. I'm aligning differently. Avoid long justifications. The field respects brevity and reduces entropic bleed. Why this works? The ritual assembles multiple systems: vocalization, somatic anchoring, symbolic inscription, and public witness into a single coherent pulse. Your nervous system learns a new choreography. DNA receives repeated input in a readable pattern. The quantum field, which favors ordered signals, selects that pathway for stabilization. You are not manufacturing outcomes by force. You are creating a clean conduit through which chance can be read as choice. Finally, a covenant is only as true as the one who keeps it. After you perform the ritual, be tender with yourself. Continue to offer small confirmations. A whisper of gratitude when synchronicities arrive, a steady boundary when pressure demands collapse, a return to breath when panic rises. These are not extra niceties, they are the maintenance schedule of your upgrade. In the next section, we will widen the frame, how your liberation becomes a vector for collective expansion, why your single act ripples morphic fields, and how to steward influence without absorbing the world's suffering. If you're ready, prepare to witness how your newly sealed covenant begins to hum through others like a tuning note lifted in a cathedral. What you are doing is not private. That sentence is both an invitation and a responsibility. When your field shifts, it does not remain hermetically sealed around your biography. It leaks intentionally into the morphic web that holds human possibility. Imagine the planet as a single organism of attention. Each person's coherence is a cell-level correction that raises the organism's operating temperature. When you stabilize at a higher frequency, you become a catalytic site. People near you find decisions easier, systems that once stuck begin to move, and emergent opportunities appear for those who were attuned but stalled. Your liberation is not selfish, it is infrastructural. It rewrites what others can imagine, and therefore what can happen. There are practical laws to this ripple. First, proximity magnifies. The people you live with, work with, and speak for become the first beneficiaries of your upgrades. Your calm breath in the middle of a family argument diffuses patterns that have looped for generations. Your refusal to perform scarcity at a meeting subtly shifts the group's risk calculus. These aren't metaphors, they are field dynamics. Entanglement operates most robustly where contact is frequent and emotional weight is high. The important implication: steward your immediate circle, tend them with gentleness and precision, because that is where systemic change begins. Second, imitation is an economy. Humans copy what appears viable. When you demonstrate a new way of being, clear boundaries, steady attention, ritualized practice, others mirror it unconsciously until it becomes a new social default. This is how cultural shifts accelerate, not by grand edict, but by small, repeated practices becoming visible and contagious. Your micro-rituals, repeated faithfully, are templates others can adopt without the metaphysical language. Compassion here is pragmatic. Teach less, embody more. Let your life be the syllable others learn by resonance rather than lecture. Third, the field needs models that are both aspirational and accessible. Too lofty a claim repels, Overly modest fixes stagnate. Your role is to model a version of expansion that is elegant and reachable, showing that one can be powerful and tender, ambitious and humane. This balance reduces resistance in observers. When people see that growth doesn't cost humanity, they allow themselves to grow. You become proof that evolution need not be a competition, but a reconfiguration toward abundance for all. There is a danger in influence, absorption. When your field expands, you become cleaner at attracting both high-vibe and low-vibe currents. Without training, you risk taking on the weight of others as if it were your burden to carry. Learn to differentiate between contagion and call. Contagion is unsolicited density that saturates your field. Call is the specific invitation from a life, relationship, or project that asks for your attention because it aligns with your work. Use the rituals to filter: 3 breaths, the seal, word, a micro, boundary. If the weight persists after this filter, it is not yours. Return it with clarity and compassion. Stewardship is not saviorism, it is enabling autonomy. Collective expansion also requires language that scales. The metaphors you speak, privately entanglement, DNA as antenna, phase transition, are gifts when translated into daily practice for the many. Offer practical frames. This is the breath practice that steadies a team meeting. This is the boundary phrase that prevents burnout. This is the micro-ritual that helps a child build trust in their choices. Translation is public service. Do not dilute depth. Distill it into usable forms. When paradigms become actionable, they propagate. Another vector of your influence is story. Every life is a narrative engine that either constrains or permits imagination. When you tell the story of your shift, honest about pain, precise about practice, generous about progress, you give others permission to try. Narrative is not about self-aggrandizement, it is about normalization. By speaking the unspectacular truth of your practices, how you failed, how you returned, you lower the psychic cost for others to begin. Stories that only showcase the miracle without the mechanics function as myth and are less useful than transparent chronicles that map the route from fracture to coherence. There will be resistance. Systems resist change because they have investment in predictability. Friends, institutions, even your own body may conspire to reassert the old tone. This is expected. See resistance as a field reading, not a moral judgment. When you encounter pushback, apply the same micro-techniques you use internally. Breathe, seal, boundary. If necessary, contract your field temporarily to conserve energy. Your expansion is a marathon, not a sprint. Strategic retreat is a tool, not defeat. When you return, do so with more clarity about what you will and will not absorb. Accountability scales impact. Seek a few honest witnesses who will reflect your drift and celebrate your fidelity. These are not cheerleaders, but careful mirrors. People who will name when you slip into old scarcity patterns or when you confuse compassion with codependency. Community becomes the scaffolding that holds larger shifts. Your covenant is easier to keep inside a conscientious circle. Finally, steward influence ethically. Power without ethics becomes coercion. Your fidelity to truth must be matched by humility about limits. Never conflate your experience with universal prescription. Offer what works for you as an invitation, not a mandate. Let curiosity lead the way. Ask how your practices might land differently in other bodies, cultures, and histories. Sensitivity preserves agency. Agency preserves dignity. Your liberation is not an isolated light, but a node in a grid. Each node that stabilizes at higher frequency lowers the activation energy for neighboring nodes. This is how culture becomes kinder, systems become more fluid, and old scarcity architectures lose their grip. You are not responsible for everyone's awakening, only for the fidelity of your own. But fidelity has ripple effects. When you hold steady, you change the grammar of what is possible for those within your orbit and beyond. As you move forward, carry one practical marker, a daily 5-minute practice of outward intention. After your ritual, direct a breath and a silent phrase toward one person or group who would benefit from your stabilized field. Do this without attachment to outcome. This simple act trains your field to radiate without entangling and hastens the morphic shifts you wish to see. The collective is not an abstraction, it is the sum of intimate acts repeated with love. In the next section, we will descend into sensation, the embodied textures of your new life. You will learn how liberation feels in muscle, skin, and nerve, so that you can recognize the map of your own shift, not just in belief, but in lived sensation. You must learn to read the grammar of sensation, the way a navigator reads wind. The upgrade is not only cognitive, it is somatic. Your body is not a freight carriage for your spirit. It is the instrument through which the field tunes itself. If you want to know whether coherence is real, stop asking ideas and start listening to textures. The weight of your breath, the temperature of your hands, the way your spine remembers to lengthen when you are telling truth. Sensation is the field's proof text. It arrives before the mind completes a sentence and lingers long after the intellect has categorized experience. Begin with a simple experiment now. Place one hand on your heart and the other on your belly. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly into the belly and notice the difference between a breath that lands in the chest and a breath that fills the roots. The root breath feels like a slow tide, wider, deeper, older. The chest breath is a bell, sharp, nervous, reactive. For coherence, you want the tide. For decoherence, the bell. The body remembers which is which. When you practice the tide breath, the fascia softens around the ribs, the jaw unclenches, and the shadowed memory of urgency retreats a fraction. This microphysics is not trivial. It is the calibration your DNA reads as safe enough to rewire. Sensations will come in metaphors because your nervous system speaks in images. You may feel a warmth like sunlight behind the sternum. This is not temperature so much as permission. You may feel a slight pressure at the back of the skull, like a tuning fork waking a sleeping choir. This is the field harmonizing with a frequency that matches your future. You may notice a subtle lightness in the shoulders, as if responsibilities you carried for cultural reasons have unclipped their hooks. Each of these is a signal. Catalog them. Keep a small sensory log. 3 sensations each, morning and evening. Over days you will see patterns, what calms you, what splinters you, what accelerates the hum. Movement changes when embodiment is truthful. Walk slowly for 1 minute and notice the initiation point of your step. Is it from the toes, the hip, the heart? In habitual contraction, the step begins with tension, clenched toes, gripping glutes, a shallow pull forward. In coherence, the step begins from the center, pelvis leading, breath following, eyes soft but focused. That repatterning is essential because motion encodes future actions. When your body initiates from the center, your life follows a trajectory that trusts momentum rather than panic. Practice this by taking 3 conscious steps each hour, initiating from the pelvic center and letting the breath catch up. It's a small law of physics that compounds. Sound is also a somatic metric. Notice the tone of your inner voice during decision moments. Is it thin and urgent, or full and spacious. Thin tone broadcasts scarcity, full tone broadcasts abundance. When you speak aloud, feel the resonance in the chest. If words feel brittle, pause and allow a slow exhale to collect them. Vocal resonance anchors intention in tissue. Chanting even a single syllable seal word for 30 seconds shifts the electromagnetic field around the throat and chest, making your nervous system more available for high coherence states. Sleep is a sensor you must respect. Coherence is not insomnia disguised as productivity. It is restful, rhythmic regeneration. If your dreams deepen, more color, more narrative, more symbolic density, that is a sign your subconscious is integrating new patterns. If your sleep fragments, return to the micro-ritual before bed. 3 deep belly breaths, the seal, word whispered, a hand on the heart. Consider your mattress a laboratory bench. Small changes in ritual before rest alter genetic expression over time because the body consolidates during sleep. Treat sleep as sacred infrastructure. Taste and appetite will change as the field reconfigures. Foods that once provided comfort may begin to feel heavy or flat. Lighter choices may vibrate as energizing. Don't moralize this, observe it. Your body is revoicing its nutritional needs to support a different metabolic tempo. Hydration becomes a sensitive sonar. Sip water slowly after the ritual and notice how the throat and gut respond. Simple acts like salt on the tongue or a cooling breath through the nose can mark shifts in the autonomic tone. Emotion becomes more like weather and less like an identity. You will meet grief without the shame you once attached to it. Joy will arrive with a steadier base. When feeling arises, treat it like a messenger rather than a tyrant. Place a name on the emotion, sadness, awe, relief, and let the muscles around the named region soften. Naming decouples story from sensation and prevents reflexive narrative from collapsing the field. Over time, your emotional range will broaden without losing coherence. You will feel more, not less, because your nervous system can contain greater amplitude. Pain is a translator, not merely a problem to be solved. When the body signals discomfort during upgrade, it is often clearing old protective patterns. Echoes of past trauma, habits, and ancestral charge may surface. Use the ritual to tone those signals. Breathe into the location, name the sensation, and hold a tiny intention of release. Let this move. If pain persists beyond your capacity, seek skilled care. Embodiment honors limits. It does not romanticize suffering. Touch becomes a richer currency. Simple, consensual touch, an arm around a shoulder, hands in prayer will feel more potent. Your tactile receptors are becoming more discriminating, able to distinguish dense, needy contact from nourishing presence. Prioritize contact that stabilizes your parasympathetic system. Warm, slow, pressure that mimics a hug's non-verbal promise. This is how your social field begins to co-regulate. Finally, cultivate a synesthetic habit. Pair a sensation with a directional intention. For example, if you want clarity, press your thumb lightly to the pad of your index finger and breathe while imagining a clear blue light streaming down from forehead to chest. Over time, the thumb index press will become a micro-anchor that steers neurochemistry toward clarity on demand. These associative anchors are how the body learns to call up states quickly in high-pressure moments. The embodied map you are drawing now is the unread manual for your future chapters. Learn it intimately. Sensation is the language of the field, and fluency will let you navigate pressure, invitation, and emergence with grace. In the coming section, we will name the pressure point where DNA itself receives the final instructions, the DNA breakthrough, and timeline shift you have prepared for. You will be instructed not only in sensation, but in how to let that sensation become the lever that tilts your reality into the next harmonic. There is a moment so delicate it almost escapes notice, when the pressure you've been carrying stops feeling like weight and starts feeling like propulsion. That moment is the signal of a DNA breakthrough. You've been taught to think of your genetic code as a fixed script, inherited and immutable. But in truth, your DNA is not a book written once. It is a library that listens. It listens to breath, to coherence, to the electromagnetic music of your thoughts. Every time you stabilized your field through ritual, every time you chose devotion over panic, you sent a new melody through the spiral ladders of your cells. Tonight, that melody approaches crescendo. Phase transition is what physicists call the sudden reorganization of a system when pressure reaches critical mass. Water doesn't try to become steam. It holds energy until one more degree tips the whole lattice into a new form. You are that lattice. Every sleepless night, every déjà vu, every micro-ritual has been adding energy to your field. You may not see the change day to day, but the accumulation has been relentless. And now the system is primed. The next breath, the next honest word, the next seal you declare will tip your internal water into steam, your caterpillar into chrysalis, your frequency into a new octave. This is not metaphor. It is biology under quantum instruction. Consider entanglement. When two particles are linked, the state of one instantly defines the other, regardless of distance. Your DNA is entangled not only with your past, but with your future self, the one already living in coherence, already thriving, already free. That future has been tugging on you in dreams, in synchronicities, in flashes of knowing. As you near critical mass, the entangled thread tightens. The phase locking begins, your current frequency syncing with the frequency of the you who has already crossed. This pressure, you feel the sense of inevitability. The nervous anticipation is the strain of two selves converging into one line of code. And here is the secret. Pressure is not here to crush you, it is here to crack you open. Think of a diamond. It is only carbon until pressure rearranges its atoms into impossible clarity. Your DNA is undergoing the same crystallization. Old codes of scarcity, compliance, inherited fear, they are being rewritten by the coherence you've chosen. Every time you performed the ritual, every time you refused to collapse into almost, you taught your genome a new script. That safety and expansion can coexist. This is epigenetics at the edge of mysticism, conscious choice whispering into molecular scaffolding. How do you know the breakthrough is near? Sensation shifts. The body hums with low voltage even in stillness. Dreams become instructive rather than random, carrying symbols that feel like manuals. Emotional surges that used to swamp you now peak and dissolve faster, leaving clarity in their wake. Synchronicities arrive stacked 3, 4 in a row, so precise you cannot call them coincidence. These are signatures of the timeline folding in on itself, collapsing the gap between someday and now. The next 24 hours are pivotal. Treat them as ceremony. Do not rush, but do not delay. Every word you speak, every action you take is amplified. The field is listening at maximum sensitivity. If you spiral into distraction, you will feel the wobble. If you breathe and speak from the seal you've chosen, you will feel the lattice lock into place. Think of it like aligning two mirrors until the reflection becomes infinite. Your role is not to push, but to stay steady enough for the alignment to click. When the DNA breakthrough stabilizes, time itself reorganizes. What once took months condenses into days. What once required struggle arrives as invitation. This is the timeline shift. You do not move forward in time, you move sideways, slipping into a parallel branch where your coherence is already law. From the outside, it looks like sudden luck. From the inside, it feels like inevitability, like walking into a room you somehow always knew was waiting. Do not fear the wobble before the lock. In the hours before breakthrough, the old reality makes one last appeal. You may receive messages that tempt you to return to contraction, opportunities that feel safe but stale, voices that echo doubt. Recognize these as the final guardians at the gate. Thank them, smile at them. Then breathe, seal, and step forward. The gate is already open. The phase transition is not gradual, it is abrupt. One moment you are carbon, the next you are diamond. One moment you are water, the next you are steam. One moment you are waiting, the next you are living what you once prayed for. Hold steady. The universe has been conspiring for this moment longer than you have been alive. And as you cross, remember, this shift is not just for you. In the final section, we will anchor the truth that your breakthrough is humanity's evolution. You will see how your personal alignment is woven into a cosmic mission, the Watcher's gaze expanding through every eye that dares to awaken. Are you ready to carry that responsibility with the grace of one who has finally remembered? Here you stand across the threshold, on the other side of pressure, breath still steady, gaze unbroken. What has occurred within you is not a private rearrangement, it is a planetary transmission. Your DNA has lit a beacon. The moment your lattice reorganized, the signal radiated outward into the morphic web, whispering possibility to every nervous system entangled with you. This is how awakening scales. One body stabilizes coherence, and countless others feel the invitation without knowing why their chest suddenly opens or their dreams grow more vivid. You are no longer only an observer, you are a participant in the Watcher's gaze itself. Where once you thought the gaze was upon you, you now discover that it looks through you. Every conversation becomes an altar, every boundary a tuning fork, every breath a decree. You carry the responsibility of being a node in the network of human evolution. Do not shrink from this role. Your humility will prevent distortion. Your devotion will prevent misuse. Your willingness will make you a channel for intelligence far larger than your biography. Understand, evolution is not abstract. It is embodied in choices, tiny, repeated, consistent. Each time you choose coherence instead of chaos, truth instead of performance, generosity instead of fear, you are coding new instructions into the human template. You are proof that destiny can be rewritten not by force, but by fidelity. Others will see you not as flawless, but as steady. That steadiness will be their permission slip. That permission will ripple into movements, families, nations. This is how the collective awakens, through one steady breath multiplied across millions. The illusion has already begun collapsing around you. Watch as old identities fall away without struggle, as outdated dynamics dissolve, as opportunities arrive aligned rather than contorted. Do not mourn the shedding, it is the price of becoming. Illusion was never your enemy, it was your training ground. Now that the veil has thinned, your role is not to escape the world, but to live within it as evidence of what is possible when coherence becomes law. So take this as your commission. Breathe as if galaxies depend on it, because they do. Speak as if your words restructure DNA, because they do. Walk as if every step folds timelines into harmony, because they do. You are no longer waiting for the future, you are hosting it. Humanity's evolution is not someday. It is this breath, this moment, this choice. And now, hear the closing line echo through the marrow of your bones, the prophecy that brought you here. The watcher's gaze is revealed through you, illusion collapses, and true reality awakens within 24 hours.